przyjemnej podróży.
Dzień dobry, Sebastian.
Good afternoon, Sebastian Ogórek. I hope we will be positively surprised by the discussion. Professor Agnieszka Kurczewska at the University of Łódź, Maciej, Herman, Wedel, Olga Kozierowska, Włączeni Plus, IncludedPlus Foundation, Jarosław, Sroka, investment company. We are going to discuss entrepreneurship, and my first question is entrepreneurship. Can we regulate it? Can we do something that it develops better? Can we promote it? Can we create it? Which is the focus of this panel discussion. And if you answer yes to my question, you say also how. Okay, so it's quite obvious for me. Entrepreneurship can be taught, can be promoted. So this is what I have been doing for the last 20 years of my professional life. Entrepreneurship is not that you are born an entrepreneur. Of course, some people are more entrepreneurial than others, but you can promote your competence, obtain knowledge. For 20, 30 years, we have been discussing whether entrepreneurship is nature or nurture. Can we nurture it, promote it, enrich it, or is it natural? All research shows that you can promote entrepreneurial intentions and promote entrepreneurial spirit. In Poland, and not only in Poland, we have to teach, educate, offer role models, and the economy has to be developing. Jarek, now over to you. Do we need the new wave of entrepreneurship in Poland? We do have this wave. It has been built for 35 years. The later wave, and we have a different wave, and it is extremely interesting because these are successes of companies that were established 35 years ago at the moment of transition. And these people passed on to the new generation, which can take advantage of global economy. What is different? What differs younger generation from the older one among the entrepreneurs? This is the awareness that young people will not only compete locally, they are going to compete globally. And this perspective changes a lot. As regards Agnieszka's words, I will disagree. I, for 18 years, have been cooperating with entrepreneurs, and I know what is entrepreneurship as nature. You have to be born as an entrepreneur. You are determined, you have the will to work 7 days a week, day and night. You have to risk all your property. You have to devote a lot of time that you snatch from your family. And you need to build a message to leave the positive trace. It is also an additional element to the puzzle which makes a picture complicated. I have to reply, we cannot carry out a DNA testing of this newborn. So it's nature, but it's also role models and other generations. It's a very important topic. We have a new generation now. It's not the 90s in Poland, not when you put up a tent or sold other goods in your baskets at the stall, at the market. You can learn from successes of your parents or grandparents. So this is also about observation. So it's not nature, it's nurture. Very interesting. There are studies about Nobel Prize winners, not Peace Prize, but technical areas, and it is extremely important with what you are born. I'm not speaking about genes, but the surrounding in which you were raised. So, okay, so we've got 30 years after transition, and entrepreneurs are the center of attention. There is a new class of entrepreneurs. So the question is there enough place for female entrepreneurs? Thank you for this question. Let me go back to this distinction or classification about how to support and where. We have to promote and support, this is for sure, but second, schooling, education. Our schools do not teach competence which could be useful in business, not only your own business, but even in huge corporations, because there are representatives of corporations here. This competence could be helpful, like critical thinking, which is a must have in VUCA age, agile approach and flexibility and diversity that has to be maintained. This is one group. The other group is when you start thinking about opening your own business, they need education, support, promotion. In the past, we used to have a lot of accelerators, funds, foundations, entrepreneurship incubators. And now I don't see such an initiative that is flourishing, so I hope the new government will support these initiatives. And on this stage, there is a person who is dealing with those issues. Yeah. But globally speaking, we need support. Entrepreneurs need support outside large cities. Of course, you can take part in online courses, and we offer an online course. 200,000 women per year graduated from our courses, which are called that Success is Written with Cosmetics. And of course, female and male entrepreneurs have to be supported. There are competitions about our program. And these women who think about it. The program is called That Success is Written with Lipstick, and we attract entrepreneurs from abroad as well, so that Polish companies can develop. And Poland's presidency in the EU is a good opportunity to show the successes of Poles. Okay, Maciej. A few figures. Polish Entrepreneurship Agency shows that Poles are less interested in entrepreneurial career. Only 43% of Poles today want to be entrepreneurs and believe it's an interesting career. And in the past, it was 86%. The status of entrepreneurs is declining. It's 63% of positive opinion about entrepreneurs. And Poles believe that there are no good role models described in newspapers. and generally in media outlets, and this was the result of the survey by Polish Entrepreneurship Agency. So I am thinking that maybe this is a tendency that it's much easier to have a full-time job, have good remuneration instead of being an entrepreneur, which is risky, which is difficult. You don't have holidays, paid holidays, for example. Maybe this is a problem. If you look at the fees for social insurance, which are compulsory, unfortunately, this is one of the barriers. When we speak to women, all this bureaucracy, red tape, costs of running your own activity. In the beginning, you are a sole proprietor, for example, then you develop into a company or not. So these are huge problems. Compulsory insurance fees in Poland are really high. And after the pandemic, a lot of companies were closed down. And also after these changes introduced about the high insurance fees. So we should appeal to legislators that they shall offer good entrepreneurial conditions. When you look at the possibilities of taking a loan, how are you going to finance your activity if you are not a startup that uses AI and offers new technologies? It's very difficult to be entrepreneur. Is it difficult to run business in Poland? There are ratings that show that, and as far as I remember, Poland is the second top country in Europe in 2021, where we have the most complex legislation, the second difficult company. So this is the bad second top place in Europe and 10th place in the world from the point of view of complexity of legislation. So a lot has to be done to catch up. I represent the Wedel company. As you might know, we have the cafe network as well. And it was a wonderful example about whether it is easy to be a business person in Poland when people from the authorities declared that all cafes have to be closed down starting from tomorrow. Half a year later, someone from the government announced, now you can open up your cafes. So how can you do it? Professor Staniszkis said asymmetry of rationality, and I have this situation now. I'm hearing you and that it is difficult, and then GDP is growing, and it turns out that Poland is not a horrible place. So we are one of the leaders as regards GDP, and if it were easier to do business, maybe GDP would have been even higher. Yeah, this is another opinion.
I can agree that we are intertwined in many different things that refer to legislation. But does it make us not want to be entrepreneurs anymore, or prevent us from setting up companies? Well, we can have a look at research. For instance, the Z generation that many people mention for no reason. But let's say the young generation. More than 50% of young individuals around 20 years of age who have no professional experience are thinking about setting up their own company. And those who have already started working for somebody else, they considered an even higher number. So that's a bigger share of that group. And recently I went to SWPS University in Warsaw, where students received awards. And these were students who create their own business initiatives, starting from ones that set up their dancing schools, or some use AI algorithms, and they enter the market of high-tech technologies. And I talked to the laureates after the award ceremony. So, of course, this is a bubble, I realize that. But if those people have adequate conditions for education, whether it's a school, high school, university, elementary school, or family, this energy those young people have, it's incredible. And I actually ask them, do you want to work for somebody or have your own business? And most of them said, yeah, definitely my own business. I'm already creating one. So this was unique, incredible. I was overwhelmed by their energy. So all we have to do is create conditions for them to start their activity. So this will not be just a slogan. They want to be the future of this country. Okay, let me add one more thing about numbers. Some companies actually closed, and some said it was due to bureaucracy or the policy of the market. It was still in 2022, and in case of the younger generation, 33% of young students, and this was a study performed on 17,000 young students. Many of them want to become entrepreneurs, and that's a giant potential. Well, what do we understand being an entrepreneur? Well, for many people, it's setting up their company. You go to an office, you register with Social Security organization. But education does not finish with a school. It can continue in companies, in enterprises. So enterprises can create space for young people or for older people to create skills of being entrepreneurial, so they can give them independence, decision-making capacity, budgets, projects, some freedom to act. And that is quite a neglected element in Poland. So good corporations with good corporate culture can create a favorable environment for entrepreneurial people. So entrepreneurial people do not just have to set up their own businesses, they can work for others. Okay, I will ask you more about that. So Jarek, when you meet young people that you support, because you support startups, what is their motivation to set up a business? Is it to prove themselves? Is it to increase their social status? Is it to get huge money? Because I understand big property, it's not their purpose. Well, my experience seems quite down to earth. I believe the entrepreneurial nature is about making profitable businesses, to create capital, to hire other people, and to take responsibility for others. And for 8 years, I have been a self-nominated coordinator of a program dedicated to young entrepreneurs. So one thing that they have in common, and these are very young technological startups, they all want to achieve what Elon Musk accomplished. Each of them is convinced internally that they will conquer the world someday. And this makes them want to do business. So now we're entering a higher level. And things become complicated. These are very often technicians, engineers, IT specialists who have no idea how to run a business. And running a business is a competence you need to learn, and lessons need to be learned properly, so that nowadays in this competitive world, you don't just have to catch up with the others. You need to get pole position and get ahead of the others, become extraordinary compared to others. So what is happening in Asia today, and that may discourage some people as a digression, and this can be a big discouragement to people who try to start a global business. Well, China offers much quicker results, much more money and higher market gets less bureaucracy and huge determination to achieve a lot. What we conditioned for young, what we created for young entrepreneurs is something that is not a priority for them. Polish market is 40 million consumers. Well, it's enough to survive. Well, this is not Estonia or Lithuania. In Estonia and Lithuania, they are determined to go global because otherwise they will not survive. I don't want to demoralize people, but in Poland, some people may feel that there is no pressure because they can rely on on the Polish market. And the country created or developed a system to provide funding for young startups, especially in the technology sector. And some companies were set up, and Booksy, for instance, is one example by Stefan Batory. But another example is a company that was built in 4 years, 11 labs, and they deal with production of voice based on artificial intelligence. And they are now the first Polish documented unicorn, so their value exceeded $1 billion. And they say it will be doubled or tripled. But the owners are now in the States. They have an office in Poland, yes. Yes, you're correct. They were raised and educated and formed in Poland, but their entrepreneurial perfection was achieved abroad. And very often when I talk to entrepreneurs who achieved something, and that's a sad thing to say, I left Poland too late. I struggled with my Polish partners for too long. So it takes leaving Poland and reaching international network and the contacts with the investment funds and people who have knowledge, people who have taken that path in other companies with a similar profile. And this is where we can learn from. It's not from the university, it's not from school, it's not from partners, because if partners speak the same voice, it means they are not a good match. You need critical voices to learn. And very often people don't know about the market, don't know anything about competition at the university. And my colleagues from the university, they said, well, don't bring anybody because some people do not realize what the reality is. So the reason I say all that is we need to understand what drives young people. And the conditions for running a business will be more and more demanding. Well, Agnieszka, okay, there was some criticism of the educational system, so I need to let you respond. But before I let you respond, I will also take a hit, because I once dealt with creators of a Polish business, mid-size, an interesting one, and they said, we are 4 people who graduated from Technical University of Warsaw, and we are the only ones who set up a company from our fellow graduates. So I asked them, why not? Why others didn't do that? But actually, you know what? We have never seen an entrepreneur at the Technical University. So we had no meetings with anybody that would inspire us. So nobody told us we can go beyond being scientists or employees, that we can actually create something of our own. And the 4 guys were involved in a different program. It was EY, Entrepreneur of the Year. And they said it was most inspiring to have a meeting with the wealthiest Poles. And actually the subject of the conversation, who has the best plane? And I know, okay, you may laugh, it may be strange, but it was a great motivational, because it's something contradictory what you said, that they are satisfied with the mediocre resolutions. Well, owners of private planes have 2 days of joy in life: the day you buy your plane and the day you sell one. Well, you forgot about a whole range of business owners who set up their companies and they don't want to be another Elon Musk. They have a completely different motivation. Yeah, let's focus on education first. Well, you've given me so many threads I'd like to respond to. I need to organize this. Well, Jarek, what you said is true, but it's just part of the story. The whole thing is about the fact that a contemporary society consists of two parallel or actually competing narratives about entrepreneurship. One is a romantic one with a unicorn in the background, an idealized one. You make huge money, you do wonderful things, and it's incredible, and that's the only thing of value. On the other hand, there is this approach dating back to the 90s, which is completely negative, which associates entrepreneurship with some poor market practices. So if we have selected individuals, ambitious individuals who come to who meet you and who are focused on technologies and who have strong financial background, correct me if I'm wrong, but during my classes, of business classes, I don't talk about money. Of course, money is important. You need to have an investor if you don't have your own money to invest. But I don't show it as a way to get a fortune. And I think one of you mentioned the Z generation, which they don't like. It's just a demographic cohort. Let's not get into details if there are more or less entrepreneurial. But there are people in their 20s, and they have different needs and different motivations. Well, of course, some of them have financial motivations. They dream of having planes, houses by the ocean, and so on. But some people, for instance, are interested in social businesses where social value or solving a social problem is equally valid for them. Money is just an addition. And you know what the paradox is? That they can afford it. Business owners in the 90s were not able to afford it because they had neither the knowledge nor the capital, and they had to get mobilized to create a classic profit-oriented company so that a class of entrepreneurs could be formed in Poland. Their children, of course not all of them, but children of a certain class of entrepreneurs, they don't have to prove anything financially. They can do something meaningful. But maybe it's because they have rich parents, well, wealthy, not rich. That's a new group, and that new generation, if they think about doing business, the categories that they follow is certain limitations, and not about going wild. And I'm not here to say what is good, what is wrong. And Olga actually called them the no generation. It's a generation who will use the word no more often than we do. For instance, no, I will not travel because it's cold, carbon trace. For instance, they are different than our generation. We were the yes generation. Yes, I want to add another line to my CV. So we, the older ones, we actually demand them to become another Elon Musk, and they just want to have a life. Well, it's a part of that generation. There is some regular business possible.
Ale my musimy też dwie perspektywy tutaj wprowadzić. Czy chce być
Right.
przedsiębiorcą?
Do they want to be entrepreneurs, and what does it mean? Do you want to be an employee and have a full-time job, or sign another type of employment contract? But if I am an entrepreneur, the goal of my business is to generate profit. Regardless of the fact what we add to this definition, maybe it's going to be for the common good and for the society and community, they have to generate profits of the entrepreneur. If the entrepreneur doesn't have money to pay his employees. He needs to generate profits for the company and to adopt a given business model. And only if he or she has enough competence, he or she can do it. Okay, so we have the potential. I have this impression that in small companies we make use of the entire competence. Steward woman, nurse, anyone, cleaning lady is now an entrepreneur. This is how we have the insurance fee. It's a sole proprietorship, but they are called entrepreneurs, and then you can employ other people. So all the data demonstrate that we don't need micro companies, more micro companies. We need huge businesses who will create the ecosystem in Poland and Europe. When we look at capitalization and compare the US with Europe, there is a huge gap between them. Maciej, a question to you. Okay, all these comparisons to the US and Western Europe are not so well justified. We have over 30 years of capitalism, and Germany have a longer history, but they have other problems, and the entire economy stopped being innovative dozens of years ago, so this is their problem. But let me go back to the issue that there are different barriers in place in Poland. For example, young Poles leave Poland too late, and they used to emigrate because they didn't have good conditions here in Poland. Again, legislation is the first drawback, and the lack of support for young entrepreneurs. Access to the knowledge is here, I will agree. But living in this world, access to knowledge is unlimited for anyone. If you want, you can use internet, you can browse, you can get knowledge via the internet. They live in both worlds, in a group with their acquaintances, face to face, and the other world is acquaintances spread all over the world in the years and so on. They just have their remote friendships. Olga. I'm listening to you, and I think we have overlooked one aspect, which is natural for young people. And there were also values of baby boomers that we represent here, and there is an X and Y generation, and corporations mention it as well-being. And there is quite a large group of people who think about entrepreneurship in such a way that they want to be flexible, free, because if you carry out commissioned tasks, it's not that nice always. On the other hand, we are used to work 12 hours a day, even if you are just an employee. I know I cooperate with different corporations, and I know that there are some statistical data that show that people work 12 hours a day anyway. Nothing has changed. So when we think about passions, and I speak to people from corporation, I'm going to open my own business and it's going to be great. And for example, I have a passion to cook, to bake, and I baked 200 items in the night, and then a few days later later I don't want to bake rolls anyway because I had a huge order and I did it. And sometimes we are not ready for success. So we promote our products, we promote them, and then we receive a lot of orders, and our website is a failure because we cannot deliver these orders. So we have to be able to plan. So we pumped money into marketing, but we don't have the wholesale hub or some other possibilities to deliver on these orders. So I'm saying that people now think about the lifestyle, and being rich is about the lifestyle. But if you work in order to deliver your orders and you employ more people, if you have more employees, your responsibility is larger and you have more and more problems. So some people start to realize how much can I handle to feel still good about myself. Maybe I want to work 4 days a week and I will be a traveling CEO because I will be having holidays on Bali because it's too cold in Poland. Okay, so you would like to react to this contribution. Okay, it seems as if we read some weird things. I'm sorry for this formulation, but I beg your pardon, but in the media we read a lot of papers that it's great to get dismissed from a corporation and then you have your own business. I can still read such articles all the time. And sometimes someone leaves a corporation and then they're disappointed and they don't have the passion and they don't have money. Competence, knowledge is important, plus a lot of efforts to open your own company. There are no shortcuts. What is fashionable in media, social media, is to become a superhero. So build a twin for yourself and you will order and you will have a lot of money, and many people wanted to do this and then they had problems. And during this panel discussion, there are no shortcuts for entrepreneurs because it will generate problems. Kurczewska, my employer for many years, commented his career in such a way: if I knew how often I was on thin ice, I would never be courageous enough to launch these projects. You have to be courageous. You have to go against the canon. Think out of the box. You risk private property ownership. You work 12 hours a day, 7 days a week at least. So your relatives suffer from that. Now, as regards the cohort, relational cohort, I must say that we have a separate group that we help young so these are teenagers and young people, and we do a lot of things pro bono for them. And they have this approach: I want to do something fine, and I don't want to work too much. I don't know the market, but I have friends, and they can become my employees. So do they know what they're talking about? International context here. And I encourage you to look at it from the global point of view: demography, migration, geopolitical, climatic problems, energy problems in the world. And this may be detrimental to your passion to carry out entrepreneurial activity, but If we had such approach, we would never have done anything positive. And please do remember, before our discussion, there was the discussion, panel discussion. No one is waiting for us in Asia. They don't talk about 4 days a week, 4 working days a week, about benefits. Go to the US and you will see what capitalism is about and what does it mean to be an entrepreneur there. We have to stop having such an approach. If you want to be a successful entrepreneur, you have to make these brutal decisions. For many years, you have to suspend your private life. None of us doesn't want to frighten anyone that entrepreneurship is so demanding and challenging. That's good that you are mentioning that only for a few years you suspend your private life. I want to refute this myth that it's all wonderful when you open your business. In the beginning, it is very difficult. For example, a corporation dismisses people and they invite other companies to train employees 50 plus, and they are suggested that they should open their own business. I remember when I left a corporation and opened my own business, I just wanted to do this social stuff. So this was my model, and I agree, if you don't have money, you can not carry out your social initiatives either, because you have to pay employees and you have certain costs. I have this impression that we agree with each other, but how about young people? Poland is at such a moment in its history that it's not Middle Ages and it's not the 90s where unemployment is so high. Now unemployment is very low. Everyone can find a job with good wages. There are Januszys of business, as we say in Polish. Of course, but basically everyone can find a job, and we don't have these problems at the bottom of the Maslow's pyramid. That's true, but we have to take advantage of this potential. And there are people that they are going to dream about their private jet. But still there are going to be young people who don't have competence, don't have knowledge, and have this idyllic idea. My son is 18 and he's dreaming about being a businessman, and he thinks that he's listening to a YouTube musician or some video recordings, and this YouTuber tells some fairy tales, and my son tries out these suggestions and he fails, and each young person can take steps and has the right to fail and come across certain hurdles, some failures, and go on.
It's not like I disagree. I don't want it to have that effect. But do we want to have more entrepreneurs in this country? We have more than 3 million. Well, individual businesses, you can question whether that's a real business, but let's not discuss that here. Do we want to have more entrepreneurs? Yes, we do, but there have to be some conditions for that. We want productive businesses. We want businesses that increase certain values. We want it to be ethical. For instance, gangs are quite entrepreneurial, but it's not a big issue in Poland, but it's a perfect very entrepreneurial business. So no, we want some features in those businesses to be supported. So if we decide that the only ambition and success in life is to have a plane that I'm about to say, then the temptation of taking shortcuts is so strong. something that you warned against. How many people can reach such success? Well, let's hope there will be many, but that would be counted in dozens or hundreds. And there is millions of entrepreneurs. So let's not set examples which are not realistic. We need ordinary, cool businesses. We don't need new companies, new businesses. We want the existing ones to develop. And we often start at the start-up phase. But it's a great effort to develop middle-aged companies. Well, but entrepreneurship is a form of competition and fight and struggle. Yes, but not everybody can win. Well, and that's logical. You don't have to win. You need to, if you were striving to get a plane and after 10 years, if you only reach a level of 7 million, is this a loss? No, it's not. I'm looking at Maciek's face. Well, that's an oversimplification. The way I understand Jarek, it's not about having your own plane, it's about achieving something that my colleagues will not achieve, and something that will give me satisfaction and joy. We will not have many more entrepreneurs. It's because majority of our population focuses on feeling safe in their lives. Entrepreneurship requires taking risk. So a majority of Polish society, and let's not hide that, is not ready and will never be ready to take risks, and they will never reach for that. They want to go to work. They want to work for an X amount of hours and see a football game, have a beer. There's nothing wrong with that. This is what our economy relies on. They're our consumers. But if people have motivation, whether it's some financial or different, I don't see anything wrong with that. Somebody said that it's better, or we want to have those cool, nice entrepreneurs, like the ones that own planes are not cool. I don't see anything wrong with having a plane. If you had a good concept, good idea, and you worked for your success, provided it's legal, there's nothing wrong. It's not like it's wrong, it's just I'm talking about diversity. So entrepreneurs are also those whose profit is not so high. Okay, we are starting from business owners who own a little shop on the corner, or we have export business owners who just ships their goods abroad, even on a small scale. So we should not focus on one specific group, which is very valuable for the economy. I'm not using the term better or worse, but we want to have a full picture of entrepreneurship. The reason we are discussing this subject today is that we are thinking how that can help improve how it can help our country grow. So I just came from another conference, from another panel, and I'm thinking about social inequality. If we do not handle social inequality, we will not progress. So let's not just talk about big cities, about high-tech inventions. We need to go lower. We need to develop as a whole. Otherwise, we will all lose. I don't think we have problem with the small businesses today. We have many small businesses nowadays. The entrepreneurs that are the subject of today's panel, and I will insist on that, are the bigger companies. We want to have more and more big companies. Of course, the lady with the shop on the corner can still do her job. But if there is a network that enters the market, this single lady will never win with them. So we want entrepreneurs who are ready to create a network, a chain of their own stores that will actually have a franchise. Well, Żabka is a chain. It was created in Poland. It's a Polish chain, now listed on the stock exchange. It actually won with foreign companies. Whether it's Polish or not, it's more American, but okay. Żabka? Well, in terms of ownership, yes, but it was a Polish created concept. Well, this is where we started. And I think one of you mentioned that. I think, Jarek, I know your name.
Doszliśmy do polityki,
do tego Jezu, teraz mnie wybiłeś.
And okay, now you confused me.
Ale no to warto by było się de facto zastanowić nad tym, co zrobić, żeby
It's good to think about what should we do to prevent those people from leaving Poland. I'm working on a project right now which has to do with Poland's presidency in the European Union, and I'm doing some research to see which Polish businesses that originated in Poland are something that we are proud of. There are very few, first of all, and second of all, they all operate abroad, they have their offices abroad, they use investors abroad. So the question is, what is it that we're lacking, that is missing? What should be there for them to strive to stay in Poland? Or even if they're leaving Poland and developing their businesses abroad, there should be more of that. Think about the number of patents in Poland versus the other countries. Well, Jarek, I will give you a chance to speak in a moment, but I need to respond to what Maciej said. To me, Żabka is a company with foreign capital, and it's a great example, even though the founder, Świtalski, is a controversial guy. He also set up Biedronka and other chains. He sold all his businesses to Portugal, to other countries. Well, it's his right, yes, but why? He had no motivation to keep it. Well, he had a startup strategy. He set up businesses and he sold all of his businesses. Does he have a plane? He doesn't. He has many horses and many legal charges as well, but that's a different subject. Let me summarize. A plane is not purchased to show it to compete with your colleagues in terms of who generates a higher carbon footprint, but to generate work and to contact your customers better, to contact investors better, and to have more opportunities to develop your business globally. That is what a plane is for. It's not for fun. Let's close the subject of a plane for good. But going back to your question, I believe we are no different from any averages globally when it comes to businesses. It's about building scalable businesses, bigger ones, medium-sized ones. Some Polish companies are global. Selena, Presgras, Asseco. There are numerous companies. There are tens of such companies created from the scratch that went global and are very successful. So we should actually have one of the founders of such corporations here among us as a speaker. They would be best to this speakers to describe what is the missing potential. But remember, we cannot actually request a specific number of businesses. It's not military. People have it or they don't have it, or they are like Świtalski, the founder of Żabka. They may have a talent to develop companies to a certain stage, and then they want to sell it and buy a different course. Some people are courageous and they are able to take a risk. They are able to live with a debt in order to grow their own company. What is missing is the capital in Poland. Actually, I don't know what Poland will be in 10 or 20 years. But I want to give you a holistic view at the global economy. I'd like to know the sectors or the areas today in which, because it's a fact that with this low innovation rate, we cannot excel in everything. So I want to know where our government sees opportunities of our country as a country in this part of Europe, and what are the sectors in which our government will support entrepreneurs in the third stage of building their businesses after the startup phase. So how do they identify those people? How can these people be offered protection, financial support, know-how? We attract many different international companies. We offer many different incentives, financial incentives. So there is a lot of know-how in Poland, but this is not addressed, in my opinion, at those who could be strengthening Polish economy in the future, who could become the elite, who sets the pace for others. We are now actually losing our position in our ranks. You mentioned German economy. Germans' problem is just starting. Of course, they developed their power on innovation, which relied on the military sector. Today, their advantage decreased radically, what will have incredible consequences for the German economy, because now the Chinese are equally skillful in bending a metal sheet to form a car, and the Germans have not learned to create such efficient engines that the Chinese are producing. So now all the spare parts for motor engine cars are produced in Poland, but also spare parts are created in Poland. If this business goes down in Poland, a real problem will start. Okay, do we know what could be the replaceable, the alternative? So innovation. I'd like to add something. Well, we smoothly moved on from the market, from entrepreneurs, from universities, to the fact that it takes two to dance a tango, or actually sometimes it takes more. So if I understand you well, we need to have a government that knows which sectors will be supported by the country, so it goes beyond political interests and temporary profits and short-term profits. A government that wants to set up a development strategy. So if we want to bet on AI, let's focus on AI. The last sentence from me, we are a great hope for AI. Some wise and exceptionally talented IT people that pursued their careers in the greatest AI companies in globally. And that's it. But we have a very strong group of programmers who do wonderful things in Poland, but they are employed by Americans. So it's exactly like with the washing machine sector. We do coding for mediocre money, and the Americans make the true profit. Yes, and the question is, has anybody done anything to set the area which will be defined anew? So has anything been done to create this value chain which will create a new pace for our economy? No, there will be just a transfer of knowledge, transfer of people, which happens one way. Perhaps they will return one day as wealthy people with their own capital to try to build something here in Poland. And while Germans and French invest in their own models, and our budget is short of 200 millions, which is a ridiculous amount. And next year, the Minister of Digitalization will have to cut his budget. Well, I agree with all of you. We know the reality, we know what the situation is, but at this panel we are thinking about what could be done or what should be done. So if we take that perspective, which is not quite obvious, I believe that the state has to think about entrepreneurship. So not everything will be done by entrepreneurs themselves. They cannot, even if they are wonderful and talented, they will not do the full job. The state element is neglected when we talk about entrepreneurship. So if you have a moment, I'd like to recommend a book, Entrepreneurial State. A state can be entrepreneurial. But I'm not saying it is, but it can be. And there are many investments, for instance, in Apple, that originally that started from state investments. So it's not about looking into schools or universities or entrepreneurs. It's about creating a three-sided dialogue. But I'm looking at Maciek's face, and I feel he wants to respond. No, I absolutely agree. You just mentioned the level of innovation, which is very strongly bound to the level of investments, and the level of investments in the times of previous government went down to 16 out of 25, so to just 16%, and that showed that all the Polish, whether private or state investment, dropped so low that it would be actually impossible to create any truly innovative products or innovations. So that definitely had impact on the Polish economy. So definitely, I agree, we should start with creating conditions for entrepreneurs to be willing to invest. Because I'm talking about private investments, that should be the driver of economy. So there were no private investments, not because there was no money, but the investors were not willing to invest here, or they invested elsewhere.
It is very innovative, and I'm under immense impression of what you are doing, Olga. Which part of potential is not used? But actually our time is over. So I would like to sum up that for me, entrepreneurship covers several aspects, and this potential has to be honed, nurtured among people who might become icons and who might become entrepreneurs. Apart from well-being that is important for them, and they have a better situation, they can become Bill Gates or Elon Musk. We need more role models for them. So this is my aim, to promote among Poles Polish Elon Musks. And we do not write about them, we do not talk about them that much, so that we have some role models closer to us, some Polish role models. Sometimes I have this impression that there are problems with PRs. Maybe there are European Elon Musks, but they are not promoted. We eagerly promote American role models, so this is this tradition. I was in Washington, for example, there was a conference, and small entrepreneurs were claiming, I'm changing the world. And then I come back to Poland, and I listen to presentations of those who are changing the world, but they do not claim doing that. There is a tendency in Poland to be Tomek Rożek, Maciej Kawecki. These examples show that you can talk in an interesting way about the academia members also. So business and science have to be combined. Thank you. So we are going to make full use of this potential. Thank you to our panel.
Jedzą kanapki z kawiorem.
Nadzwyczajna kasa.
Obrażanie dziennikarzy telewizji polskiej.
Chodzi o działania polityczne.
Przygotowanie ofiar dla pedofilów.
Für Deutschland.
TVP Info. Włącz się na nowo.
Radość, nadzieja, życie, wyzwanie, pasja, pamięć, zaufanie, pokój, jedność. Słowa tworzą świat. Polskie Radio. Źródło wiarygodnych informacji.
Plany biznesowe powstają z marzeń. Dlatego nie ma dwóch takich samych firm. Jedni chcą działać na całym świecie. Innym cały świat mieści się w dłoni. Sukces biznesu to nie tylko jego wielkość, ale też szczęście, jakie przynosi ludziom. PKO Bank Polski.
Uwielbiam szycie w sieci. Wczoraj podszyłem się pod wnuczka, wieczorem uszyłem intrygę na apce randkowej, a dziś planuję grubymi nićmi szyte oszustwo z promocją. Tak się szyje.
Na oszustów są sposoby. Zapoznaj się z poradami ekspertów na niedajsiepodszyć.pl.
It's not always easy to recognize. It may look like this, or like this. It may be a burden, but it is a responsibility that we embrace nonetheless. But if it means this for one person and this for someone else, maybe it ultimately means being there for one another. It isn't handed to us, but we know where to find it. And how it feels, how it tastes, and what it sounds like when we finally have it. It means different things to different people, but for many, it means everything. And if we all fight for it, it will eventually bring us together.
Ihrer Ausreise.
Polskie Radio.
Jedynka.
Rodzina spółek Pelion to 12 tysięcy osób pracujących w ponad 300 spółkach w Polsce, Szwecji, Wielkiej Brytanii i na Litwie. Jesteśmy liderem w branży ochrony zdrowia. Od 1990 roku dbamy o długość i jakość życia. Pracować z nami możesz w jednym z 7 obszarów.
jutro Londyn. Za chwilę Paryż, Warszawa, Berlin. Na całym świecie kultura pulsuje rytmem. Wystarczy tylko włączyć dwójkę. Dwójka, Polskie Radio. Jesteś na miejscu.
Zapraszamy do Trójki. Od nowa.
Trójka. Program Trzeci Polskiego Radia.
Czy wytrzymasz klockowe tortury ze stoickim spokojem? Czy w twardych negocjacjach zachowasz zimną krew? Czy poddasz się dobrowolnej eksmisji ze swojego łóżka? Brawo! Test na obecność serca zaliczony. To znaczy, że ty też możesz być rodzicem zastępczym. Dowiedz się jak na testserca.pl.